What is up everyone, and welcome back to some more Formula 1 2020 Championship mode. In the last one we were in Hungary and yeah, things didn't go great. I had ended up qualifying last because I spun in qualifying on my qualifying lap. I lost my front wing on lap 1 and almost made it back into the points, and then got a 3-second time penalty at the very end for cutting corners and just fell outside of the points. It was a bit of a shame, but I'm eager to bounce back in what is one of my favourite races on the calendar, and that is Belgium. So let's get underway. I absolutely love this circuit. I think I said in the previous video, I think it's my favourite circuit on the F1 calendar. The greenery is beautiful, and the track just presents so many opportunities for overtaking. It's truly got to be up there with the best circuits in Formula 1 of all time, alongside the likes of Silverstone and Monza, where we're going next weekend. So let's see what the weather is like, because it is known to rain here, and it is doing just that this qualifying session. So what I need to know is, will it be raining in the race or not, because that will dictate which qualifying setup I run. So let us see. It will be dry during the race by the looks of things, so we will run a dry setup and try and hustle it around Belgium for the best I can. I've dropped the difficulty again because I fell outside of the points, so yeah, technically that means that it was a non-points finish, and that's the rules for this season. So yeah, we're running with a Belgium dry setup. Let's get out on track. Longest circuit on the F1 calendar, something like 7-ish kilometers. Nearly 4 miles, I think, maybe even over 4 miles, I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, really what we're just trying to do here is keep it together up Radion. Got out of the throttle a little bit there because I was scared. It can be very scary in wet weather, especially considering that it's not particularly easy in the dry. When you try and take it in the wet, you really have to commit to everything. But you might see me be a little bit braver there in the race. But right now I'm just trying to qualify well. You could typically get a couple of people off the line if you have a good start, which obviously we know I'm known for good starts. If you're Roman Grosjean, sometimes you can have pretty bad starts here. And if you're Nico Hülkenberg too, just thought I'd balance that one out by naming a driver who's a personal favourite of mine, just to say that those kinds of mistakes can happen to anyone, not just the drivers that are known for it. Was a bit worried I might have done a bit of a cheeky track extension there, and then I had to get out of the throttle there, or I was definitely going to do a cheeky track extension. So it's looking like it's going to be P4 in this qualifying session, provided that I don't fall to any other drivers. The loss of ERS for the rest of this lap may actually mean that that's not a given, but hopefully it will be P4. And no surprises, it's most likely Verstappen, Bottas and Hamilton ahead of me, but I'll take P4. I think that's a respectable result. If Sergio Perez got that in Belgium in real life, you'd be like, wow, great job Sergio Perez. So let's see.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Hamilton, Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
And it was exactly as I thought. The 3 drivers I'm contending with for the championship, hopefully, probably not at this point, but you know, the target always was P7, and we're far exceeding that. We're most likely not losing out to Daniel Ricciardo, but you know, every point counts, and I want to do the absolute best I can in this championship. I worked out at the end of last video, it's mathematically it's a possibility that even if I win every race with fastest lap, I can still not win the championship now because of how many points I've lost due to poor performances. So yeah, it's going to need to be a little bit of luck and a lot of skill if I want to win this championship now, especially considering there are a couple races coming up I'm not super confident at. Singapore being one of them. Actually, that's about it. I think Singapore is really the last track that I don't do quite well around.
Preparations on the grid are wrapping up as we brace ourselves for the start of today's big race. Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track is a great one for fans of pure speed. The average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles an hour. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, the surface looks clean enough, but I'm a little bit worried about the track temperature. It's pretty cool out there, which could give some teams difficulties when it comes to keeping their tyres in the right operating window. The cars out there that work their tyres hard and really put a lot of energy through them, they'll be the ones that are better off.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Perez, Alexander Albon, and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Ocon, Stroll, and Carlos Sainz. Vettel, Norris, Daniel Kvyat, and Gasly, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Alright, and now it's time to get a really good run off of the first corner and just go straight up into the lead before we get to Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Race strategy, what a shocker. It's a one-stop, 6 and 5, so gonna have to make this first stint really count. That's a good start. Verstappen doesn't get such a good start, and it looks like it's going to be P2. Little tip about racing in Belgium: always just assume that someone's going to come steaming up your inside around turn 1. Even if it costs you a position, it's worth it as opposed to not doing that and then being taken out and losing your entire race. That is the best advice I can give you for racing in Belgium. If you want to live, leave the space. It's like Fernando Alonso said in Abu Dhabi 2010. All the time, you have to leave the space. Looks like Hamilton's already getting away, so this might be a P2 affair. But yeah, I just want to run well. That is the aim here. I'm not fussed whether it's P1 or P4. I just want a nice, decent points finish with very few dramas. That is the ideal result here. You know, I'm going to push hard, but not so hard that I put myself at risk like I foolishly did in Hungary. I pushed very hard on my qualifying lap, and it cost me. And then I pushed quite hard in the race, and that also cost me in the form of a 3-second penalty. This chicane is quite terrifying, but yeah, Hamilton already a second and a half up the road. I'm already a second away from Verstappen, so this could be a very boring race potentially. But there are only 11 laps of the thing, so that is some solace at least. It's a very fast track, and that owes itself quite well to this car. given that it's got the Mercedes engine in the back, which is, I think, the fastest engine on the grid, if I'm not mistaken. I think that the Honda is second, and then Renault third, and then Ferrari's the weakest engine on the grid, if I'm not mistaken. Initially, it was very different to that, but they changed it with the performance update patch to reflect the real life paces of the cars, which I think makes sense personally. But well, we'll see. It doesn't mean that this is going to be an easy race, especially when you consider I've got a Honda powered and Mercedes powered car in P3 and P4 behind me. I'm still going to need to drive very well. The good news is, it seems that the places where Verstappen is typically faster than me throughout the lap are the places where it's nigh impossible to overtake. And if you're wondering what that means, it's quite simple really. It means I'm probably alright, basically. It means that I probably won't catch Verstappen, but catch Hamilton rather, but it also means Verstappen probably won't catch me. So in that regard, I'm doing alright. And it looks like him and Valtteri Bottas are going to be having quite a bit of a squabble, and that might bode quite well for me, but also bode quite well for Esteban Ocon if he can capitalize on the jostling that's going on between the two of them. Perhaps he can replicate what he did in the Sakir Grand Prix in real life, and take what would be his maiden podium in this Formula 1 canon. I have to admit that Renault have now gone very quickly from being one of my favourite teams back in the days of the Hulkenberg-Sainz partnership. That was one of my favourite teams at the time in 2017 and 18. And then I liked it a little bit less when they got Ricciardo in place of Sainz. Like I understood why they did it, but I don't know. I like Ricciardo as a driver and as a personality, but I've never been like a massive like Ricciardo stan like some people are. And then obviously they got rid of Hulkenberg, and then I liked them a little bit less. And I really just, as a driver, I find very little to root for in Esteban Ocon, and I feel like Fernando Alonso. I know obviously he topped the young driver test that happened in Abu Dhabi recently, but I think that honestly doesn't count for very much when you consider that he's a 40-year-old racing against, well, 3 other 40-year-olds and a bunch of like 20-year-olds. I also think there's a lot to ask about what kind of like car setup he was running versus everyone else. I just I would have liked to see. Do you mind, Jeff? I'm trying to talk about my opinions on Formula 1 here. I would have liked to see Guan Yu Zhou or Christian Lundgaard get into that car, because I like both of those drivers a decent amount. Honestly, I just have quite a good history with being quite a fan of Renault Academy drivers. I think it's that I want to see drivers I like in the Renault, and at the moment that's not really been happening.
Expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
Hopefully the rain won't pose too much of an issue. Hopefully I'll be able to finish the race before it gets too bad. But yeah, I can't remember who else is a hot prospect from the Renault Academy. Oscar Piastri, I believe he's graduating to Formula 2 for the next season, and it will be quite exciting to see what he can do, given that he had a very strong, I believe it was his rookie season in Formula 3 actually, where things went down to the wire between him and his teammate Logan Sargent. Obviously, I'm very excited to see that Yuki Tsunoda has now been announced for AlphaTauri as well. I really like him as a driver and as a personality, so I'm going to be quite excited.
Caution.
Another VSC.
Retain a positive delta. Okay, slow down, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
So I actually did check in between videos to see whether the safety car, the full safety car, was enabled, and it is. It just has not cropped up yet.
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC ending. Wait for green.
Okay.
Green flag.
I just wanted to be safe there, to make sure that I didn't speed under the VSC, because we know what happens when you do that, and I would quite appreciate if I didn't have a repeat of which one was it? Spain? God, that was so long ago now. So for a second there, it looked like I was closing down Hamilton, and then I had a dreadful sequence of corners, and now Valtteri Bottas is literally all over the back of me. The pit stop phase will be coming in next lap, if I'm not mistaken. Where was I when the VSC was deployed? Because I can't help but feel like I might have been able to get away with a quick pit stop under the VSC. I feel like I may have blown an opportunity for the lead there, potentially. But it looks like where Hamilton is succeeding, Verstappen is trailing a little bit, and that's kind of what I need in the races to come. I need to have a strong result, and then I need to have one of them at least to have a weak result if I want to capitalize on their issues. Same with Valtteri Bottas, because I really think I can get P3 in this championship. Like I really strongly do believe that that P3 in the championship is more than possible.
The car behind is gaining on you by 0.5 a lap.
So yeah, we're looking to see what we can do to close down Hamilton here. I might start deploying some of my excess fuel now I know that I'm not burning through it too quickly. I'll try doing it through the DRS zones and the back couple of corners that are quite long. Coming into the pits at the end of this lap, so I wonder if I'll have more pace on the medium tyre, possibly. Not really sure. It feels like the setup, like some of the corners are quite heavy, but I don't know if that's just a compromise for the fact that you can run quite low downforce and then get quite a lot of speed on the straights. Like I wonder if perhaps the Mercedes are running slightly higher downforce than me, and I'm running like quite a low downforce setup, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Bad corner there, almost extended, and yeah, I might come under attack from Valtteri Bottas here actually because of how bad that corner was. Looks like I might just about get away with it, and then we'll be coming into the lane for the pit stop. Bottas is staying out, so maybe I can, if I have some good pace on my... What was I going to say? If I have some good pace on my mediums, then perhaps I can be in with a chance of bagging, or not bagging, but increasing the gap between me and Valtteri Bottas to the point where he doesn't feel like such a threat.
Last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
The things I say to trigger the Amazon Echo, I don't know how it detects some of the things I say as what it needs to trigger it. I hope that people understand what I mean by that. I'm trying not to say it so I don't accidentally trigger it again. But, you know, I'm sure we've all seen the adverts at this point. So, yeah, here we're looking to close up, or not close up, but increase the gap to Valtteri Bottas and try and consolidate this P2 at this point. I think that P1 might be off the table by this point. but P2 definitely very possible. I just need to hold out the gap. Maybe I can close up to Hamilton a bit here if he gets stuck behind Pierre Gasly, who is still running on softs, although Gasly's definitely going to come in at the end of this lap. So whatever gap I do make up, I need to make it up within the next few corners, basically. I don't think it's going to be 4 seconds somehow. Maybe Hamilton will go for a move and they'll take each other out. Well, a man can dream, eh? So let's see. I think I'm comfortably ahead of Bottas here. Although to be fair, he gets around this corner slightly quicker, so it might not be the comfort that I was predicting. But no, we're absolutely fine. Actually, Verstappen might be all over him here. And Ricciardo. Wow. That ended up being quite an exciting pit stop phase, huh? I wasn't expecting things to be that tight between the bunch of them, and I was not expecting to pull out the gigantic gap I had pulled out over Bottas. So that was a pleasant surprise, and hopefully they will just continue to hold each other up. So yeah, consolidating this P2 seems quite likely at this point, and if that is the case, that means this will be the first time in the season where I have finished on the podium without winning. Obviously I've had a couple of P4s and 5s and a few in the lower end of the point spectrum, but yeah, I've never had a P2 or a P3 this season. So when things got a bit hairy there. I think we should just be able to avoid the rain if I had to guess. Like, I'm not 100% sure, but it's looking like I'll probably not have to worry about the rain too much. It might start coming down on like the penultimate or the final lap, but yeah, I don't think there's really that much of a concern when it comes to being caught in the rain and having to change tyres. Unless it starts coming down like right now. But even then, like, I could see a case being made for it's probably faster to get around the circuit on slow tyres than make a pit stop just to get a bit more grip. Because on a freshly like damp track, the slicks don't lose like 25 seconds to the inters. I mean, unless you go off, and obviously you want a level of grip you can trust with the inters, but yeah, I think it's probably unlikely that I'll have to bring that kind of thing into consideration. So yeah, only 2.5 laps to go. I've not been burning this fuel as efficiently as I would have ideally liked to. I went through it so quickly in Hungary and ended up having to run in lean towards the end, and that was probably partially what ended up costing me my points. Like, I probably could have still fought to build a 3-second gap between me and the cars behind me, if not for the fact that I had to save fuel in order to finish the race. So yeah, I haven't been quite as keen with the rich running. Like, I could probably go rich to the end of this race and I wouldn't run out of fuel. I'm not going to do that just in case, you know, just in case that isn't possible. But I'll try and start deploying it a bit more, especially because this gap between me and Bottas is closing quite significantly quickly, and I don't want to be under pressure from him right at the very end. Perhaps I can snash fastest lap. I don't actually know what it is at the moment. I will ask Jeff.
Currently, the fastest lap is a 1:47.9.
It's not impossible. I'd have to put in a really good lap, but it doesn't feel impossible. It would have to be this lap because it looks like the rain is going to start coming down, and that means that the lap afterwards will be quite slower. But there is a shot on this lap. It's not likely. Like, I don't know if I can save half a second on just a random lap 10 in the Grand Prix, but who knows? I'm pushing hard. So there's a shot. It would be nice just to minimize the amount of points lost to Lewis Hamilton, because I think he'll probably reclaim the championship lead off the back of this, given that Verstappen has not had such a good race. It's currently a 14-point gap. If I can get the fastest lap, I will effectively change that to a 13-point gain, and I need to make up 2/10 in this final sector if I want to get the fastest lap off of Lewis Hamilton. So I'm going to go up into Rich and just try and make the bus stop chicane work for me as best I can. And he goes faster himself, so yeah, and that would have been it as well if not for Hamilton setting the fastest lap there. That's a real shame, but you know, fuck it, I'm going for another one. They said it can be done, and it probably can't, because who knows what my battery deployment was like, but I'm going for it. I'm giving it absolutely everything, full beans, full send, the whole lap. And already we've made up 4/10 through Sector 1. I really am keen for this extra point, you know. We've seen it time and time again throughout the championship where you've had, you know, even though it's only 1 point, you've had drivers just so super keen to get that 1 point. Because it can be the difference between, you know, a position in the championship. It could be the difference between me getting P3 and 4 when it comes down to it, potentially even P2 and 3. Who knows? So I really do want that fastest lap point. I wonder if in the future you'll see teams utilizing like a wingman strategy where they box like the championship contender of the team's teammate to steal fastest lap off of their rivals. And was that fastest lap? I can't tell.
Brilliant job, mate. That's a fantastic podium. Super driving, really strong pace. Very happy.
George Russell gets driver of the day. Let's go, Georgie boy. And yeah, P2. I seem to be very happy about that, even though I've had 4 wins this season.
Fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Well, we made it back onto the podium after a couple of tricky races in a row. That one, I was a bit anxious that it might not go so well. It ended up going all right. Can't help but feel like if I'd got ahead of Hamilton at the start, perhaps I could have won that, but you know, things happen, and they can't always go the way you want them to. Did I get fastest lap? Let's find out.
So, let's review the drivers' standings. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Well, there was a lot of incredible driving out there today, Crofty, but if I have to pick someone, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Fantastic driving. I know that's at odds with the official decision, but I think they deserve some recognition on a day where both of these drivers are at the top of their game.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Okay, so you're telling me that George Russell went from P19 to P18 and he got driver of the day over me or Carlos Sainz, who both made up 2 places in a points paying position. Interesting. But I guess that's the way it goes sometimes. But I appreciate the recognition from Anthony Davidson nonetheless. And yeah, next up we got Monza. I like that circuit a lot. Expect to see me do well or atrociously, because that seems to be what happens when I say expect to see me do well. And yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.